ironic. Hello everyone and welcome to CCP. My name is Shana and today I will be reviewing some books for you. But the first book is The Lady of the Lock. So this is this book right here. Okay, so Lady of the Lock. So it follows two girls called Leah and Zoe. They are sisters and Leah is basically depressed and Zoe's life is a bit better than hers, like not better as in like it's drastically better, but she's just not depressed basically. And she has like a group of friends and she basically hangs around with them, whereas Leah, she's not really like that. She's getting over a heartbreak, so she's fallen into like a slump. But then one day she's offered an opportunity in Scotland, in Inverness, and when she lands a job in Inverness, Scotland, the job actually requires her to go with someone. So she convinces her sister Zoe to go with her, and they will be living in a castle, a Raven Craig castle. And this book is a dual timeline, by the way. The present day is present day, and the past day is set in 1307. Yeah, 1307, and it follows two other girls named Agnes and Elfie. Even though Agnes is the main protagonist in this book, it is centered around Elfie as well. So these two girls, they do escape. They run away because their castle has been invaded by the English and they're Scottish. So they run away and they find this castle, Raven Craig's castle, and these two girls are actually living there in the past. So while Zoe and Leah, who are in present day, Leah's job is basically to not rent out, but like to hire this place and kind of sell it to other people, maybe for like certain venues and things like that. And she gives like a lot of historical background as well to the castle. And whereas Agnes and Elfie are actually living there in the past day. So yes, I did like this book. The second book that I read, I probably should have started off with my DNFs first, but I'll save them to the end. The second book I don't actually have with me, but this is The Witch's Tree, and it is by the same author. So this author is Elena Collins. I also read The Witch's Tree of her book. And The Witch's Tree, similarly, it follows two girls, except they're not sisters, they're flatmates this time. And in present day, you have Selena and Claire, and they are artists. Basically, they're artists, and they own a gallery. And Celine, she is also going through a heartbreak. What a coincidence! But she's also going through a heartbreak, which is actually quite serious in a way. And certain things happen that she actually doesn't know about. Although it was a bit questionable when she did find out something. I was a bit like, I'm not too sure about that. But yeah. They are in present day, and to get away from the drama, she basically moves into like the countryside, into a cottage called Slow Cottage. And Slow Cottage was actually a home in the 1682 to the people in the past day. So this book as well is another true timeline, and it's set in present day and 1682. In 1682 you have a young girl called Grace Cotter, and she wants nothing more than to have basically a family, but things don't always go well for her. Some unfortunate things do happen. Yeah, she also lives with her grandmother in this cottage, Slow Cottage, the one that Celine is living in present day. She learns actually quite a few things about her grandmother, things that she didn't actually know whatever the past tense is. So moving on, we have The Curse of Misty Wayfair. Now, The Curse of Misty Wayfair, this is by Jamie Jo Wright. I really like this book. This book is a Christian historical fiction, or one could argue that it's a fantasy, but if you read the story, it's technically a fiction. But yeah, The Curse of Misty Wayfair by Jamie Jo Wright. I gave this book a 4 out of 5. I thoroughly enjoyed this book, as you can see from all the tabs here. And this book is also a dual timeline. And you'd think that I'm a type of person that likes dual timelines. I really don't like dual timelines in books. I don't like dual timeline in books. But what are the odds that this is my third one? But and she also has another book coming out later on in November. I don't know if that's dual timeline or not, but I cannot wait to get my hands on it, because this is the first book I've ever read of Jamie Jo Wright, and I am curious to see what other things she will write as well. But moving on, this story follows a young girl named Thea, who is a photographer. She is also an orphan as well, who is trying to find answers about her mother. On her journey, she encounters groups of people that help her along the way. She's also a person who doesn't actually believe in God, and there is quite some separation between the Catholics and the Protestants in this book as well, which she does learn about. And she comes across certain people like Mr. Amos, Mr. Amos and Mrs. Amos, and then certain other people that help her kind of build a foundation in God, in Christ, basically. But it's not the foundation of the book. It's just it has Christian allegory to it, but still Christian fiction nonetheless. But yeah, so she's trying to find answers to who her mother was, basically, who her mother is, and she is in the past day and is set in 1908. She also comes across this family called the Coils, and there is something to them that she is slowly discovering. The Coils don't actually have the best reputation, but yeah, you'll find out if you read the book. And then if you move forward to present day, the present day is set in present day. And it's based on two sisters called Heidi and Vicky, and their upbringing wasn't perfect. They are Christian. Well, they grew up in a Christian household, but they never had the best Christian dynamic in their house. It was a bit, yeah. And Heidi's kind of falling away from Christianity as well. Heidi one day goes to her sister's and she just decides to visit her. And then on her way, she visits an antique shop and is owned by a woman named Connie Crawford, who sells her this album. But then when she looks through the album, she sees a picture of the family, and there's one specific girl who is in this album, and she's dead. But even though she's dead, she looks exactly like Heidi, and Heidi's convinced that it's like her doppelganger or something. So she basically becomes very curious about this album. And Connie Crawford is a Christian, and her children are also Christian, and they don't get off on the right foot. Like, not Connie, but her children and Heidi don't get off on the right foot. But later on, just like Thea in the past, she has people that she happens to come across in her life to actually help her acknowledge God and to actually bring her closer to Christ, which is nice. And I gave this one a 4 out of 5. I really like this book. Yeah, really good. And it's all based around like a mental asylum, in both past tense and present tense, and they're trying to basically, both sides are trying to figure it out, and who this Misty Wayfair being is. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. Highly recommend. Okay, so the last book I read, I wouldn't say it's the last book, but I'll say it's the last book for now. But the last book I've read is Medusa by Jessie Burton. This isn't anything Christian. This is actually Greek mythology. And this story tells a young Medusa. It tells the life of a young Medusa. And in this book, Medusa is 17. She shares her story with a young boy who she meets at sea. But this boy doesn't actually know who she is. She doesn't know who Medusa is. She doesn't know, I don't think he even knows her name. And the whole book, it's not a long book, but the whole book is all set in a cave, and this boy never sees her face. And she tells him her story, he tells her his story, and all inside of a cave. Certain things happen in this book, and just to let you know, there are some trigger warnings like abuse and violence. However, the author does do a great job at disguising it. Like, you can read between the lines, and it is very much readable. So just thought I'll put that out there. I like the idea of the book, I really do, but I just felt like it didn't translate well for me anyway. I gave this book a 2 out of 5 star. I don't know, but that was my rating. The idea was good, but I don't think I'll reread it again. This was an ebook. I didn't purchase a physical copy, and I don't think I will be purchasing the physical copy. So last but not least, well, I say last but not least, we're actually done with all the books that I've read. But moving on to the DNFs, I DNF'd only DNF'd 2 actually. I DNF'd 2. So the first one, unfortunately, was a Christian fantasy, and this is called The Creator's Call. It started off really, really strong. I got to like halfway through. I think it was like 200 pages in, roughly around that page, 200 pages in, when I decided to not finish it. Some parts of the book didn't really go together. So you had like, I had a certain picture in my head of how the story was set, and it was more set in like not so much historical time, but then suddenly it was like mixing with like some really high fantasy like dragons, and I just felt like the author didn't do a good job at linking the two. Like, if you've ever read Mark of the Raven, that's a Christian fantasy, that is phenomenal. Like the fantasy element of it, like how it's set, the scenery, there's really great detail of how the castles are described, the materials, the stone walls, and then you have all the dream walking and all of these things. It's so good. But The Creator's Call, unfortunately I just DNF'd it. It just wasn't for me. The next book that I did DNF was The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fryer. That book I DNF'd probably around page 100, simply because of language. The book was a very, very like, I could see why some people find it very boring, but personally, I kind of like learning about Harold Fryer and his life to walk to Berg-upon-Tweed from his house to visit an old friend. But I thought it was very cozy vibes. I really, really liked, I wouldn't say I really, really liked it. I liked it. But I had to DNF it because of language. And I don't like language like that in the book, and there was like a few F-bombs in there as well, so I just kind of had to DNF that book. So yes, that is it. I will be trying to do some more different content, not just books, but perhaps maybe some artwork. I'm not too sure, but I mainly review Christian things like books or artworks, or obviously other books as well, so that way you guys can also know what books, you know, certain things that you may not want to read, I can also review them for you. So yes, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a great day or night wherever you are. Bye. Bye bye.